You are listening to the TV Obsessive podcast, brought to you by TVObsessive.com.
Hello and welcome back to episode 117 of the TV Obsessive podcast. My name is Ryan Kirksey, writer, contributor for TVObsessive.com, and joined once again by Cameron Crane, executive editor for the site, the lesser-known seventh Lost Boy. Cameron, how you
Oh
doing
yeah.
today?
No, I don't. I'm not. I'm growing older, so I don't
Yeah,
think that
that's right. You can't be a Lost Boy.
I can't be a lost boy. It's like my beard's starting to turn gray and stuff. It's no fun. Um, but yeah, doing pretty well. We're gonna talk about Alien Earth episode 3 here today on the latter part of the pod. So hopefully people are up to speed with that. I've been enjoying the show quite a lot personally. It's August 20th. First, as per usual, though, we'll talk about what's been in the news, what we've been watching, and stuff like that. I've got another show that has to do with aliens that's coming back this week. To my recollection, you have not watched this program, Ryan. Right? This is Invasion on Apple TV Plus.
Right. I've not seen Invasion, and it's quite the interesting coincidence that you put this on here. I was just reading, I forget who it was. Trying to locate that, but they were talking about the strength of sci-fi on Apple, talking about Severance, talking about Silo, and talking about this show they thought was almost at that level. And so I keep getting more and more curious and more intrigued about this show. But if I remember correctly, this is season 3 coming back.
Yeah, season 3 comes out on Friday. I'll be writing about it again. I wrote about season 1. I wrote about season 2 on TVObsessive.com. I know that I've said some mixed things about this show. I think I've settled in about how to watch it, which at least for me means not taking it too seriously. I
Yeah.
mean, like it's a TV show about an alien invasion, and there are tropes. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like there are cliches. There's some like kind of ham-fisted dialogue and stuff like that. But it's an interesting show. If you go all the way back to the beginning of season 1, it starts off really slowly, which I really liked. Like other people were complaining about this, of course, right? And so like then when it gets to like halfway through the season or whatever, it's like bing pow boom. I was like, oh, I like the slow pace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for a bit it was kind of like, sorry if this feels spoilery at all, but it's meant almost more as a recommendation to stick with the show, I guess. It's very character driven, particularly at first, and like it's a lot of what goes on in the opening episodes. It's like an alien invasion is happening, but it's
Mm,
not directly happening to our characters.
I see.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? Um, and then it does. So but it was kind of like at that moment that it did that I felt like, oh, now it's become a more standard alien invasion show, whereas to be spending so much time with people in a world where an invasion was happening but they were just like normal people,
Yeah.
I thought was interesting because a lot of times on these things it's like you're following the government or something.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it shifted a bit. Uh I probably shouldn't say much of anything about this season 3 premiere, which I have seen and written on already. Comes out on Friday. Eric Lang's in it.
Okay.
He's in season 3. He wasn't in season 1 and 2, but
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
he shows up in season 3 as his usual kind of heavy. You
There's a
know,
building the world out, I guess, and
I,
see a little bit more.
I was just thinking about that guy because we talked about him a little bit when we were doing Sugar, and he
Mm.
has a tendency to play a similar kind of character. And I just got to wondering to myself, sort of, if you're that sort of actor who tends to play that guy in that thing, sort of a character actor who tends to be a similar kind of character. Do you keep all these different characters straight in your head? Do they
Yeah.
feel like distinctive to you? You know what I mean?
I mean, you can just
Uh,
forget one after you do the other. I mean, you know the mannerisms, you know the way you're going to comport yourself. So yeah, you just have to remember, I guess what your name is in the current series you're on.
Yeah, like that's what I'd ask him if I had the chance to interview Eric Lang. Like, it's like, do you remember? You remember these characters' names when you're like,
Right.
no. Anyway, what about you? What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I guess just caught some this week, just more out of curiosity than anything. I guess it was about a week or week and a half ago that the report came out. There was something a couple months ago about celebrity chef, Food Network star Anne Burrell, who had passed away in her apartment in New York, and something finally came out that said that it unfortunately was some sort of overdose that led to her death. And so Food Network has put out and promoted quite heavily this latest season of Worst Cooks in America, which is her last project that she did before her passing. So I just got curious to sort of watch her and see what it was like. I did not know that there are something like 28 seasons of Worst Cooks in America. It's like, you know,
Right?
Survivor, Big Brother, and
I
this, the longest running show.
I was about to ask if this was the same show that I recalled, and I think you just told me that it is. So I think I've only seen the first season of the show
Okay.
whenever it aired. And when that first season aired, I was working my weird Nielsen job in New
Yeah.
York in Manhattan. One of my coworkers was on that show.
Oh,
Actually, I
wow.
think she won that first season. So I watched it,
Yeah.
in part because it was like, hey, I know that person, kind of. They trained me at work. We
Well,
weren't even friends. It was just like she trained me at work, at that job.
I had never seen an episode of this before. I mean, despite being so many seasons over it, it's ridiculous, and you bring in these over the top characters, particularly in this latest season, and just try to teach them something and give them some of the skills, and there's celebrity chefs on there. It's just it's interesting and it's funny, and they just laugh at how incompetent they can be. But I was struck by this news of how Ambrell passed away, and then her personality on the show, which is completely vivacious and joyous, and just sort of how she's dealing with these characters, and just that duality struck me. Everybody sort of talks about this after Robin Williams, just sort of there's some private stuff going on, and wish we could have people have a chance to talk about those things. But just more curiosity just to check her out since what's sort of the final thing that she's done.
Right on. Yeah. I recall it being kind of an entertaining show. I mean, worst cooks means people who don't know how to cook. It's like
Right.
they show up in the first episode, like, I don't know how to make spaghetti, and then
Yeah. There's one person on this season that says the only thing that she took cooks for kids is, chicken nuggets she throws in the oven. It's like, oh gosh, yeah, you need to be on this show.
yeah, and they like train them up, So kind of interesting show. Um, shifting a little bit to the news, another one of your favorite cooking programs is on the horizon, or baking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, the people who know what they're doing, will start to see them again when the Great British Baking Show comes back. We believe it will be Friday, September 5th. It comes out in the UK on September 2nd. Typically, Netflix puts it in the US 3 days after. So we're back again, collection, as they call it, collection 13, with all of our favorite Paul Hollywood and Prue Leith and all the whole gang back together again. So yeah, I've told you this is my boy, I just need to decompress show. So I'm very excited to have this back for what should be most of the fall, I think.
Well, yeah, I still haven't checked it out, although maybe I should. The recommendation of a stress relief comfort show might land a little bit. It's not like the world's anxiety provoking or anything like that.
I mean, we need it now more than ever. It's the
Yeah,
perfect time for it to come back.
everything's fine. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Um, yeah. Also on the reality TV front, we make that segue. So the news, asking you shall receive. I guess we've been kind of wanting a version of the Traders US with just normal people.
Yes.
We're doing. I've seen someone refer to it as civilians. I don't know about that. Like it's like normies is what Vulture had in the first headline that I read here. Thoughts on this, Ryan?
Well, I mean, I don't want to overstate this, but is this the most important television news to ever happen? I mean, I think it might be. I mean, yes, we have talked about this several times. I'm extremely excited for this. We don't know a date. It's going to be far in the future, but I guess, will continue to be a celebrity reality show driven version of Traders, and then the call it what you will, normal or civilian focused version that's apparently going to air on NBC, whereas the past seasons have only aired on Peacock.
Yeah, so they're going to kind of double it up. As I told you, I presume that this will also land on Peacock, but I don't know
Mhm.
any details about that. I just think it'd be really weird if they only aired it on ABC, on NBC, sorry, and then never made it available to stream. So
Right.
it's possible though, they want to rejuvenate the linear network a bit and it might be delayed and they might do weird stuff. You know what I mean? It might be like it comes to Peacock a week later, or it might be like it all comes to Peacock after the whole season is aired. Who knows? So I have to keep an eye out for that level of detail. But yeah, I think it's like at the early stages of them putting out a casting call kind of thing. Even
Uh-huh.
I've seen a couple of people saying that they might try to be on the traders. Um,
I mean, I would, just crash and burn on a show like that. But yeah, I'm very curious as to the type of person that say, yeah, I know what to do there. I know how to succeed on that show. I'll just be very curious to watch it.
like I could imagine doing it if it weren't for the Survivor-esque challenges that are,
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean? Where it's like the intrigue in the castle or whatever. It's like, okay. But then
yeah.
it's like, now it's time to skydive into a lake of snakes. I'm like, nah, no, I quit. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. I think 2026 probably at the earliest. I believe the next season of the Traders will come in January, as the previous ones have, to Peacock. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was like summer of 2026 or something like that. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, and I saw a note. I hope this doesn't happen, but yes, we've gotten the past three in January, so presumably that will happen again. But forgetting NBC does have Winter Olympics in early February. NBC and Peacock will have Winter Olympics. So will they start it before? Will they go after? Just will that matter at all? So we'll have to see when they announce when these any of these seasons are coming out.
Right. That is a wrinkle. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll mention on here when we find out more. Coming a bit sooner, Fallout season two, not till December, but we got a trailer, we had a release date. I can't recall actually, Ryan. Did you watch season one?
I did, and I was trying to recall. I've not gone and revisited anything, but I think I flew through this pretty quickly, and I was trying to jog my memory as I read this. Yes, I do believe I finished this first season, and intrigued by how it ended. And yeah, I have no reason why I won't be all back in here. And it looks like December when Fallout Season 2 comes back. But I do recall now that I was able to finish this one.
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those things. I think we've talked about this before. Something drops all at once and you binge it and you don't remember it as well as when
Yep.
you watch it week to week. So um I do recall that like the end of season one set up the idea that season two was going to Vegas. Which
Yes.
is clear also in the
Yes.
trailer. So apologies if anyone thinks
Yeah.
that's a spoiler. Haven't played the video games, but I know from things people have said that there's a lot of excitement about them getting into this new Vegas stuff from the games. Um,
Caught a
Walton
glimpse of
Goggins is
just
back.
Justin Thoreau is here, so that's exciting. So yeah, I definitely
Just
will
about
be on the list.
just about to mention Justin Thoreau, one of my favorite actors, really. So yeah, looking forward to it. Good cast, all of that. Um, Further down the line, probably it just got announced for a second season. The show Department Q, which I believe you mentioned watching before relatively recently.
Yeah,
So you're excited about this,
yeah.
I believe.
What's funny is what you just said about when something drops and you binge it all at once and you can't recall. So after I read this, I went back and looked, and as much as I loved this show, which is a Scotland-based sort of crime drama about a guy who starts a cold case unit, I absolutely loved it. I went back and looked. I still have a few episodes to go. I never finished it, so I need to
Oh,
go in and
really?
finish this one. Yeah, because the first half of the season. I just absolutely loved. I need to go in and finish this. But yes, has already. I think just dropped. I want to say about a. Well, no, this may have been earlier in 2025, but it is certain now to be getting a second season. This show Department Q on Netflix again about a Scotland-based cold case unit.
Well, yeah, I still need to check this one out for good things. I guess you have just provided some justification for why Netflix will sometimes send me an email that says, remember to finish Squid Game.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's funny for me is usually they do that, and I will have actually finished the show, but
Oh,
then
okay.
because I was writing on the show, went backwards, to like
Yes.
revisit things or whatever, and then they're like, well, our computer shows that you only watched, up to the second half
Yeah.
of this, like
I've
half of this
I've had
episode.
that. I've had that happen so many times where we do get screeners for something, and I'll need to go back and revisit something, and so I'll just watch maybe only episode 6 or something, and then you get a notification. Do you want to start this show at the beginning instead of, just it seems that they think you're starting on episode 6 or 7 or 8, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But that's fine. It's just like I don't think I've ever actually had it happen where Netflix sent me an email to remind me to finish watching something I'd actually forgotten about.
Yeah.
Um, well, let's see what else we got. Rich Eisen returning to Sports Center. Did you watch this?
So I saw someone posted the whole well, they posted his opening on social media. So did watch that. And found it quite funny and poignant. Spends time talking about Stuart Scott, sort of a little bit of time reminiscing. I didn't watch the whole episode, but I had completely forgotten, or maybe I didn't even realize or hear this, that his show is moving, I guess, very soon to Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. At least the video version of it is moving. And so this was sort of a promotional tie-in. I'm going to be moving over here soon. I'll come back and do SportsCenter for a night.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. I like Rich Eisen. I may have
Yeah.
mentioned before on the podcast here, even some stuff from the Rich Eisen show, where I usually watch stuff on YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's still going to be on YouTube when this happens. And if it's not on, I don't know. But there's other stuff going on too. Like ESPN and NFL made a
Mhm.
deal that, well, I almost mentioned last week, but I refrained, and now I have gotten myself in. I don't really understand the full details of it, so like I almost wasn't
Yeah.
going to mention. So you got this kind of stuff happening, and I don't know. I wonder how much will change on the consumer end, I guess, and how I'll feel about that. You
I
know,
do. I saw a lot of consternation when ESPN bought the rights to Red Zone, NFL Red
yeah,
Zone with Scott Hansen. This show I watch every Sunday afternoon in the football season, where you just turn it on and it just shows you all the games that are close to scoring. Would this be a Stephen A. Smith version of that going forward? They have come out and said that it will not. But yeah, there's this weird ownership stake now between the NFL and ESPN, where going to be a lot of incestuous cross-pollination between the two now, if there wasn't already.
yeah. I mean, the red zone thing. There's no cause for immediate concern. Like nothing's really going
Yeah.
to change this season. Well, it's
Right.
possible that they might sneak in some more advertisements in one way or another,
Yeah,
sponsored
yeah,
segments or whatever. But like Scott
exactly.
Hansen just got a bag. He's going to be on there. He's got a contract for at least a couple of years. So it's more
Yeah,
like the worry, you mentioned Stephen A. Smith, but it's more like that kind of worry, like, oh, is it possible that in 3 years they're gonna have like Pat McAfee on hosting Red Zone? Like, I don't want that to happen, really, or are
yeah,
they gonna somehow mess it up? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Uh,
That's the concern. That is the big concern.
but I don't know that they will. On a more positive note, my understanding is they got like the branding or whatever, or licensing of the concept almost or something.
Yeah.
And so some people are excited actually because it opens the door potentially for ESPN to do like a college football version of Red Zone.
Mm.
Um,
There have been a lot of people that have asked for that for a long time. I've heard people, of course, I think no, ESPN and ABC still have NBA. I've heard a lot of people pining for an NBA version of Red Zone. So yeah, it certainly opens the door for more of that type of show.
Yeah. I mean, of course, so I think one difficulty is, as I understand it, I don't really watch college football, but as I understand it, ESPN wouldn't have the rights to like all of the games.
Yeah,
So
I mean, ESPN has a right to a lot of the games already, but there are serious deals, obviously, with CBS and with Fox for college football. I'm sure that they would be reluctant to just turn over their, even for a slice of the pie, turn over their, part of their college games to the network like that.
right. So then potentially you'd get like ESPN college football red zone. That's only the games that ESPN has the licensing rights
Yeah.
to, which people might still go for. I don't know. I don't watch college football because they're not good enough. I have a
They're
couple of
paid professionals now. I don't know what you're talking about. They're all paid.
I will there have been a few times over the years where I will like turn on the national championship game,
Yeah.
like so you're telling me these are the two best teams in the country. And I'm just like, man, they can't play defense, man. It's just like,
That, that is very common in the championship game.
it's just so I struggle with it on that front. And honestly, it's like, dude, I've got enough NFL football to satiate me at this point with
Yeah.
all the games on Sunday, Monday night, Thursday night, and all of that.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, I think that about does it for what we had in the news that caught our eye this week. We're ready to talk about Alien Earth.
Yes.
Right. So, episode 3, Metamorphosis, aired last night on August 19th. So, hopefully, you're up to speed. Spoilers will be on the table here for everything through episode 3 of Alien Earth. So, if you haven't watched it yet, you may want to pause, come back later after you have. We'll put in a little bit of music here and be back with you in just about 10 seconds.
Okay, we're back to talk about Alien Earth, Season 1, Episode 3, Metamorphosis. This episode written by Noah Hawley and Bob De Laurentiis and directed by Dana Gonzalez. Aboard the Maginot, which did crash in New Siam, Cavalier orders Kirsch and the Lost Boys to gather all 5 species of alien samples and bring them back to their island so they can be studied. Kirsch and Dame Sylvia believe that this will distract from the product that they are about to launch, but Cavalier demands they take whatever it was that Utani wants so much. Morrow confronts me and slightly about the eggs that they are guarding and finds it mysterious that they're synths who think that they have parents. Kirsch arrives, Morrow escapes, but tells Utani his mission is to find the aliens and that he will not stop until he brings them to her. Wendy and Hermit do fight the xenomorph, and Wendy is able to defeat it by decapitating it. Both are seriously injured in the fight. They return to the island along with the entire Prodigy crew, and while Wendy rests, Hermit undergoes surgery, removing his lung. Kirsch, Toodles, and Curly dissect the facehugger from one of the eggs and place the larva from it inside of Hermit's lung, which had been preserved after it was removed. And during all of this, Wendy wakes up, sets out to find the source of a shrill noise in her head. She ends up passing out near the xenomorph eggs. So I really enjoyed this episode. I think one thing maybe we can even start on is we had some questions about how far out would we go in this world, and we did end up leaving the apartment building. We're back on the island. We've spent a little bit of time with Morrow in New Siam, so a little bit of time with Utani. So yeah, we're building out the world a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm saying my first notice. I sort of love to be wrong, speculating last week that the whole season would, still be dealing with the rescue mission or whatever you want to call it in the building with the crash ship. It actually
Yeah.
does seem like we're done with that, basically like halfway through this episode. Probably to the good. I am curious as they expand out the world. And then, of course, they've just kind of shifted the potential threat from the crash ship to the Prodigy lab, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
That
interesting.
would be the thing. I think, are we now spending most of our time in the lab or the Prodigy corporate sort of infrastructure that we have here? That's probably the question now.
Yeah, although it's interesting that like in a meaningful way, Kirsch seems to have it figured out suspiciously quickly when it comes to like how the facehuggers work.
Right.
Um, Eh. I guess I'll buy it. I don't know. Like he read whatever logs,
Yeah.
but he made an inference based on how the egg started opening up when Moro was near it, or something like that. So I don't know. Anyway, it seems like they understand to keep human beings' faces away from these eggs. Um, Not sure what's going to happen with a little science experiment.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go to that. So as I was saying to you before we started recording, I'll admit, cards on the table. I didn't fully follow this, right? So I read your summary and I thought, oh, okay, this makes sense. That they were removing Hermit's lung, and then that's what he was putting the little tadpole xenomorph in with.
Yeah.
Yes,
My,
that's what.
my on one watch, I've not gone back and watched the second time, but my understanding from this is it seems as though part of the injuries in the xenomorph battle had to do with his lung, and so that lung had to be removed. But instead of just discarding it, they have somehow, it looks like maybe even repaired it and preserved it, but unknown whether it was for this express intent of putting this xenomorph larva inside of it. But it certainly looks like that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, or again, referencing something I said before we started recording, like, I don't know, man, maybe his lung was fine, and these people are just doing an evil science experiment.
That is also a possibility.
It's a little unclear. We're jumping around, with apologies, but um, Wendy finds Hermit, and he's got the web thing going on, which had kind of slipped my mind a little bit, I guess. I don't want to say I forgot that the xenomorphs did the spider webby kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but he's like kind of webbed up against the wall, as we've seen
Yeah.
before in various alien films. So she manages to free him, but then the xenomorph's there. I guess what I'm rambling around to get to is, through all of that, it wasn't entirely clear to me what kind of injuries Hermit might have.
Right.
So,
It seemed to be that there was some stabbing with the tail throughout the course of the battle. So maybe you got a punctured lung or something. But yeah, it did certainly raise some questions of how that happened, why the xenomorph used Hermit to set a trap, and then we see the outcome of this battle, but we certainly don't see all that Wendy was able to do to it. Certainly by overpowering it. I have to admit, was a little bit of a shock for me.
yeah. What? How do you interpret the spider webby thing? Is it just like, I'm going to save this as a snack for later, or
I was wondering the same thing because Hermit says, "Oh, no, no, it's a trap. Don't, get out. Don't come in." I mean, how would he necessarily know that?
yeah,
But we don't have any indication other than Morrow that the xenomorph has spared any other being that's come into contact with. So, was there a purpose? Was there an intention behind all of that? I mean, I almost have to read it as yes, because it's so far removed from what he was doing to every other human that came into contact with.
yeah. Trap is weird though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So you mentioned Wendy, yeah, and does she have superhuman strength? Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, we saw her do that
Yeah.
cliff jump and all of that.
Exactly. She must if she's going to take this thing down single-handedly.
Yeah, it's like, and of course, a sword or a knife works, right? So we don't actually see this happening, but she manages to cut the xenomorph's head off,
Yep.
and then is herself meaningfully injured, right? We see her like milky blood and stuff like that, right? So I think in your recap you said she was resting, which
Yeah.
it's a little
Also,
bit more than
also,
that, right?
also
Like,
recovering. Yeah, she's recovering.
yeah, she's messed up,
Being
and
impaired. Yeah.
they're doing work on her and so on. And so that's a question to talk about when she wakes up. It is like she is hearing something or feeling something, getting almost like glitches in her head. And they're in the visual language of the show connected to what's being done to the face hugger or whatever.
Yes.
What do you
Yes.
think here?
Yeah. So I didn't get so much of an impression that it was her hearing something, but as you mentioned, inside her head, there is some kind of connection between her and these specimens that are now on the ship. And as they are dissecting and torturing and cutting up and experimenting with the various parts of the eggs and the xenomorph and the face hugger, that she's experiencing that somehow, and it's causing her this tremendous amount of pain that eventually just forces her to pass out. So I just was very curious, and I really have no answers as to, what is this connection she has made to this creature, and does that have anything to do with why it was perhaps trying to lure her into to a confrontation earlier in the episode?
Yeah, did the xenomorph like put something in her head somehow? Because that's where
Yeah,
we saw the, you know, milk blood was on her head.
right, right.
So some kind of implantation of something in her head. I don't know. I mean, I presume the show will do more with this, and
Yeah.
I almost don't know how to speculate further. I don't feel like that's the kind of thing we've ever seen in an alien film before, for
I,
example.
I was thinking the same thing. I do not recall any, and again, this being a unique characteristic of a synth with a human consciousness inside of it, I don't recall either a synth or a human having any sort of telepathic connection or anything connected to a xenomorph like this where they would experience something similarly.
Yeah. You know what alien film I probably should rewatch is Resurrection. I think it's been quite a while since I've seen Alien
Yeah,
Resurrection.
it's been a long time since I've seen that.
Again, so maybe there's something in there. I don't know. Apologize if any, like, if hardcore Alien fans are listening, like, oh, like, you dummies, remember this stuff? And
Yeah.
the, um, I haven't seen that one in quite a while. Maybe not since it came out in the theater. Um, so might be worth revisiting. Of course, let me reiterate, again, as I said last week, I think we shouldn't get too hung up on whether
Yeah.
what's going on in the show is consistent with what happened in the films or not. But, certainly with some of this stuff, like understanding what's going on, you can pull on maybe
Mhm.
something from one of the films. The spider webby thing we were talking about, I just realized like that happens in the films, but I don't feel like I've
Yeah.
ever had a real good interpretation as to why.
Why? Yeah, no, I don't either. I really don't either. It's interesting that Moro has this weapon of some kind that can spiderweb up the xenomorph. Obviously, the xenomorph's always had this sort of ability to do that. But yeah, no rhyme or reason as to why or how it makes that determination of who gets that or not.
Right, which is fine because part of the I don't know, terror of the xenomorph is precisely how alien it is, how other it is, how much you pay. So not being able to understand why it's doing what it's doing can just kind
Right.
of feed into that. I'll be curious to see the results of their experiment, right? I mean, it seems like when they cut open the face hugger and all of that, then they find what I keep referring to as a tadpole.
Yeah.
It's a xenomorph, xeno xenomorphic tadpole, whatever. I was trying to combine the words and totally failed. Um, is the lung sufficient, for that to grow?
Yeah.
Um, and if so, that seems bad. So I don't know,
Yeah.
Kirsch.
Yeah. You may not understand quite what you have done here. I mean, it's a very, yes, I think the logical path of, I think we know from the movies that these face huggers insert something into the mouths of the people that then implant the tadpole or the larva or whatever inside this person. So logic would say that it's inside the lungs of them if they're, shoving something down their throat. So lung is apparently the proper environment to grow these things. That thing is clearly going to outgrow this glass case that it's in. So I think we can pretty clearly see what's about to happen next with this. But yeah, why he thinks that this will be a experiment worth conducting when they seem to know, or at least Kirsch from his download seems to know what could happen here. Yeah, no explanation as to why they are doing it this quickly and this fast.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, so he wants to test the theory. What have we
Yeah,
got here, and so on. Um, there's a through line with the synths in the films and so on.
Mhm.
being generally just more fascinated by the xenomorphs.
Yeah,
Um,
almost sympathetic to them at times.
yeah, yeah. And from what we've seen, they don't seem to present as much of a threat to synths as humans,
Right.
at least. But there's the wrinkle that in this very episode, you got the fight with Wendy. So um, I don't know, man. Is there going to be some kind of almost mystical reason
Yeah.
having to do with the fact that it's a human consciousness in a synthetic body as opposed to a fully synthetic
I
android?
mean,
I don't know.
you think it would have to be. I mean, sure, you can have a plot line like that where this company, Prodigy, is creating this method by which you can live forever, which is implant your consciousness into the synthetic body. I mean, yeah, that's a cool thing to be doing, but to introduce that as such a primary part of the first two episodes, there has to be something that makes a connection there, I guess is what I'm trying to point at. There is not just a, now we're doing this because it's cool and look what they were doing in the background. Now we're going to focus on, being attacked by it. There has to be something there that's going to raise a connection.
Yeah, I would think. I am still enjoying how all of that's going. What about you? I mean, is it working for you the way in which you've got these like kids basically, the whole kind of shtick?
Yeah, so let's see. Morrow, who are the two? So it's Smee and Slightly that he comes up on, right? That when they're guarding the eggs.
I believe that's right.
And I think it's fine. Just maybe I just find it odd or just sort of as just one of those haven't computed yet that you've got these, in many cases, very talented young adult actors and they're being told to act like children. And they do a very good job of it. But it's almost like they can't, they're children that can't control themselves. And so it just makes for very interesting conversations, very interesting dynamics between the characters. I don't know, maybe I just haven't settled on the idea that I like how they're doing that or it's taking me out of it too much.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the stuff with Morrow. Um, well, let me parse this a bit. So you're referencing first the scene when they're, right by the eggs on the ship.
Yeah.
I thought that worked. I enjoyed that. And I potentially do want to talk about his question or riddle, when is a machine not a machine? Um, but I also enjoyed how part of what they're doing with the fact that these synths are children, the hybrids,
Yeah.
it opens the door for Morrow to be wondering what's going on here, right? It's like clearly you're synthetic, but you think you have parents, you're acting like children. Um, and he's kind of put it together. And just on its own, I think that adds an interesting element to the show in terms of the intrigue on the corporate side, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because these beings are a secret, right?
Yeah.
So now, if Morrow's figured it out, now Wayland Yutani, the rival company, can find out about it. And, where does all of that go? What I'm not sure really landed for me was when Morrow calls up, what's his name? Which one is that? I'm
I
sorry.
think that was Smee, but I don't honestly recall which one's Smee and which one's Slightly.
Yeah, apologies, everyone. I'm having trouble keeping my lost boys straight in the show, I
I
guess.
can tell you. I can tell
But
you real quick.
um, yeah, if you want to look it up, that'd be great. But that scene where they're talking like, well, they're not really on the phone. I don't know exactly what's going on. Or Morrow's like able to almost phone in to the mind of, did you get the name of which one it is?
Yeah, so I believe, let's see, Jonathan Ajayi is Smee, so I think that's who we're talking about here.
All right. So he's like almost inside Smee's head. That scene, I don't know. I mean, I guess, but the show's using the fact that he's has the consciousness of a child as a way to allow him to be manipulated. And I don't know if that worked quite as well for me as some of the other stuff. What about you?
Yeah, that part, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I understood structurally how that happened, right? So as a cyborg, he had something inside of him he was able to implant inside of me to communicate with him neurally
Yeah.
somehow. And so I understand logistically how that would work, but in terms of him being so now driven on this mission, and he's going to use what is essentially a child to help him achieve that. Don't you want a friend? Everybody needs a friend, that type of thing. Yeah, it was odd. I do have to say, I think the Moro part of this to after episode three and might be the most interesting part of the show to me now, right? He's to, as you said, has these secrets. Is that currency to trade later for the specimens for the secrets? Because what is his? He says he has a quote unquote way in, and so what does he know? What can he do? And just sort of his mission to do nothing but bring these things back. I find that intriguing. The part between him and the two Lost Boys, wasn't exactly my favorite. Didn't exactly work as well as might have I thought, but I am all in on sort of the Moro storyline here.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. I am interested, really interested to see where it goes. And I guess it's plausible enough, but just the shift in that scene from get out of my head, go away, I'm not talking to you, to okay, yes, I'll be your friend. I mean, I guess that's plausible for a child to do,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, you know,
We didn't
but
spend, other than Marcy, we didn't really spend any time with these children before us. We don't know their ages, their personalities, much at all about who they are. We're just trying to get that inference from the way that these characters are acting.
yeah. Let's talk about a couple more of them along those lines. Um, what do you think is going on with Nibs? You know which one that is?
Yes, Nibs is the redhead, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
She
that is the one
was,
that she's questioning their name, she's questioning their purpose. Other than just, this idea of the machine, which hopefully we'll get to later, just, a being questioning its existence. I wasn't quite sure what she was going for here, but just becomes the most curious of the group right now.
yeah, and we get some shots where she's like poking her own eyeball and some shots that are a little bit I don't know, almost like kind of hard to interpret in terms of how to put them together. Artistically done shot. I mean, it's cool, but I guess I didn't know exactly what to make of what we saw her kind of going through.
Hmm.
Um, I guess maybe as you say, she is the representative of the one who feels really uncomfortable about what's going on and what's happened to her.
Yes.
And you recall,
The one questioning the nature of her existence, right? Or, what
yeah.
she is, what her place, yeah.
Well, and I was going to say too, if you recall, she was the little girl who, before she became a synth, asked, "When do we get to go home?"
Yes, yes, that's exactly right. Yep.
And gets the response, "You don't." Right?
Yeah.
Um, which again, all right, like how evil are these people? Because you might want to presume that in the middle, or after she asks when do we get to go home and gets a response, you don't, that
Hmm.
at some point she said, oh well, okay, but maybe she didn't ever say okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, did you even get that kind of semblance of consent, or just kind of foist this upon that terminally ill child, and now she's in this situation that she's in. So she's
Yeah, I
got some
think one of the
discontent
most,
going on as well.
yeah, one of the most interesting things about I think this construct is that presumably this agreement to turn these terminally ill children over to this experiment was made by their parents, not by
Yeah.
them. And so, what was explained, not explained to them, what did they understand or not understand before they went through this? And so, just the mind of a child, it's you're going to go through something, and then when it's over, you'll get to go back home and live your life. And that's apparently what Nibs is kind of looking for here. And now that she doesn't have that, it's very much a okay, why? What are we doing here? Why are we even a part of this? And who am I? It's interesting that they, as much as it may have irked me a little bit in terms of the acting like a child. The fact that that's how it's set up is very interesting.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And then kind of on the very flip side of that, you've got what's her name? Come on, I know that I wrote this down. Curly,
Curly.
um, who goes to I almost called him Captain Cavalier.
That's right.
Boy
Boy
Cav
Cavalier.
Boy Cavalier. Um, she's into it, right? She's
Oh
like,
yeah.
I get it, I understand. I learned French, you know. I, I'm I'm gonna become your favorite, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought that was interesting. I wanted to be sure to mention that here. Other thoughts about Curly?
Yeah, just in terms of, I'm glad you said this because it sort of represents the spectrum of what these six children in these bodies represent, right? You do have Nibs, which is very much I'm not sure I want to even be here. Why do we have these names? Why are we doing this to Curly? Sort of, I guess, in a sense, understands what's happening or understands the purpose of what they are or who they're being. And I mean, she wasn't present for that conversation of how Cavalier wants to use them for certain things like intellectual conversations and use them to make money and all this, but she's understand sort of there might be a hierarchy here, and she'll do anything that she can to displace Wendy at the top. Wendy's not here. Wendy's injured. I'm here. What can I do for you? Yeah, there's a wide spectrum of the personality, the range of who these lost boys are.
Yeah. Wendy is his favorite because
Hmm.
she came first.
Hmm.
Probably fair to suggest that Wendy is our favorite and has been, well, I mean, has been set up as the protagonist of this show.
Yeah, yeah.
However, I don't know exactly what's going on with her at the end. She's clearly messed up. She collapses. And I got to thinking about whether Wendy has plot armor.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure if she does, actually. Well, just thinking about Noah Hawley's other shows and things like that. Like, I
Yeah,
presume she's not like dead at the end of this episode, right?
right.
But I don't know if I can assume that at some point in the near future she'll be back to herself and, okay.
Do we have any evidence that the other Lost Boys have any of the superhuman or supernatural abilities that Wendy has? Um, I would have to assume yes, but we've not seen any of that. And so if there's a savior coming out of any of them for what's about to happen, then maybe it has to be Wendy. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know if that's foolproof, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, I would presume that they all have the same kind of physical abilities,
Yeah.
but there's a big distinction in terms of their psychology, if you like,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, in other words, if you're asking, could one of the other lost boys decapitate a xenomorph with a knife?
Yeah.
The answer is no. Well, like maybe Curly, maybe Nibs, maybe. But like with the other guys, like Smee and Slightly, and the answer is no. But I don't think the answer is no because they'd be physically incapable. I think the answer is no because they'd be like mentally incapable.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you recall them being scared of the eyeball octopus monster and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. I do think that they have done a good job as we talk about speaking slightly again. You could tell, at least, I don't know if you want to say age or level of maturity, but speaking slightly are sort of the least evolved or least intelligent or least mature of this group, and they can, bond over the grossness of the species that they found and all these things, and so you can sort of label them that way, I guess. Whereas Wendy and Curly, there might be some kind of conflict coming because they psychologically or mentally are the most advanced. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
most mature might be better than advanced. I don't know.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but at the same time, Wendy killing that xenomorph that she killed was strongly motivated by protecting her brother.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
um, So certainly, you could imagine that happening again. I don't quite feel like that's gonna go that way. Here's another question along these lines. Do the synths like Kirsch have similar kind of physical prowess? Um, maybe. But again,
Yeah,
even
that's a good.
even thinking about the films, I don't know that we ever saw something that was showing extreme physical strength.
Yeah. I mean, trying to think between David and Ash, I don't recall anything. I mean, extreme intelligence, extreme manipulation, extreme focus and drive towards a goal, but I don't recall anything that would show any sort of abilities like that.
I mean, like
Like,
I kind
like,
of recall David doing some fighting stuff, or
yeah, yeah.
in Alien
I'm sure
Covenant,
people
there's
will
like
tell us when we're wrong.
I watched Alien Covenant relatively recently, and there's a fight between the two synths. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
biggest thing that I'm thinking about. And but it didn't seem like it was, Superman versus Superman.
Right.
Stronger than a
Right.
human being or whatever, sure. But anyhow, again, I don't think Noah Hawley is beholden to film canon, and Cal keeps saying things like that when I feel like they're relevant. But it did get me wondering here, what's going to happen with that experiment? Are they hatching a xenomorph in the lab? Will they be able to handle it? Right.
Hmm.
And if, as we were talking about, the at least many of the Lost Boys wouldn't be able to handle it because they are not like mature enough, or
Yeah.
don't have sufficient courage or whatever. Well, could Kirsch handle it? Right.
Hmm.
And I think at very least Kirsch is confident that he can, he could, he will.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And then I don't
I
know.
I I think we're going down a road of Kirsch is going to be more like Morrow, where he's going to learn that this is too valuable to destroy or too important to destroy, and it's going to have to be someone like Wendy that does it if it ends up happening.
Yeah, fairly likely,
Yeah.
you know. Um, or the xenomorph kills them all and
Yeah. That's
something else
happened.
happens. There are various
Yeah.
possibilities. There are various possibilities. But, you know, all I can say is if it's going to fit with the first Alien film at all,
Hmm.
there is the implication that at the end of this narrative, which predates that, Wayland Yutani does not have a xenomorph. Right. I
Correct.
feel like I think you need that because the first film involves them trying to get one. You know what I mean? But beyond that, doors open for a lot of possibilities. We also have these other species.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or speculations about how they might fit into things ultimately?
Well, I think I just on here that we got confirmation that there were five because we were questioning that last week. Sort of what did we find? How many of them did we find? We even asked the question, how many xenomorphs are there? I guess there were only one. However, we have six eggs.
Right.
So we now know sort of what we're dealing with. I don't know if the flora, fauna, the eye octopus, the others will factor into what happens later. Potentially, I think it might be cool if they did, but we now know sort of exactly what we're dealing with here, at least.
Yeah, can we count up to five? So the xenomorph is one, the eyeball
Mhm.
octopus is two, the sluggy thing, the slug
The
thing,
blood slug is three. The flora fauna is four.
four.
I wonder if there's considering the egg of number
Maybe they're
five.
considering the egg five. Yeah. Yeah. Well, which is fair enough, I mean, because you got the eggs with the face huggers, and to distinguish them from the xenomorph. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do with that body, that dead xenomorph body.
That's a great question. Yeah. A lot of possibilities of where we're headed here. That's one thing that I'm loving so far is just can't quite predict what's going to happen. You see it in enough alien movies, you think, okay, I understand the sort of story, but not exactly sure where we're headed.
Yeah, looking forward to it though. Really enjoying the series so far. Oh, okay. One last. We'll end on the riddle, I guess. When is a machine not a machine, right?
When is machine not a machine? So my only thought on this is I keep going back to another sense of IP or when we're dealing with the smart machines, when it becomes self-aware, when it learns it's not a machine, when it can tell itself that's not a machine, doesn't have to follow machine rules. Maybe I've been too much in the Terminator universe before, but that seems to be you've advanced beyond the capabilities of, not the capabilities, but the rules within a machine must live.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best I've got as well, something along those lines. When
Yeah.
it has self-consciousness, autonomy, whatever. I wonder if Morrow has like a specific answer that we're going to get at some point in the show. I'd be
Yeah.
curious to hear that. If so, um, it depends. I don't know. We don't need that tangent. It's like
We'll have to revisit
insert
that one.
philosophical tangent about the distinction between a machine and a mechanism. We don't need to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think even, it's that mechanistic aspect you're really referring to that implies a lack of freedom. So
Right.
if the machine is free to determine its own behavior and so on and so forth, probably go along those lines. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what Morrow has in mind there and why he's asking that question to Smee, and where that goes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that the whole Moro thing, not only bringing up this question, what the implications are of that question, but what he ends up doing, how he ends up doing it, that part, I mean, it just intrigues me the most so far.
Yeah. I don't see logistically how he could get in there and grab up all these alien species and take them away. So,
No, and that's what he needs an ally, and that's why he's recruiting the Lost Boys.
yeah. So curious what his plan is, how this all shapes up. Hopefully Wendy is okay. I presume that she'll be in the show. Again,
Yeah.
I don't think that she's just like gonna die, but I do think there's a chance that she is. Something's going on, and it might be bad. She might not ever really get better. We'll see. Um, all right. Anything else you want to hit on?
I think that's it. Just waiting for episode 4 next week.
Okay, then. All right. Thanks as always for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, press that thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. Check out TVObscast.com. You'll be able to find written work on any number of TV shows there, past and present. Although we don't have articles on Alien Earth, we just got the podcast, so listen to the podcast. You will have articles for me on Invasion starting on Friday, and we've got a few other things going on at the moment. Dexter Resurrection. We should have some stuff on Peacemaker on the horizon. Anyway,
Mm.
check out TVObsessive.com. You can follow the site on social media, search for TV Obsessive, and you should find us. And we'll be back with you talking about Alien Earth next week.
All right. Looking forward to that. See you then.